Welcome to the Church of Mabus radio show. It's Friday night. Listen to United Public Radio 107.7 FM New Orleans. And check out Beasts Beyond Belief, Sneaky Werewolves, Flying Cats, and Accidental Apes by Michael Winkle. Nearly 200 tales of cryptid animals and other unusual beasts. From Bigfoot, Nessie, dinosaurs and ancient fish, flying cats and rabbits, and brain-eating horrors and interdimensional hamsters. And freaky werewolves, sneaky werewolves, yeah. But that's on Amazon. He's been on. It's a good book. Check it out. Jacoby, Matott. Did I do it? Jacoby, gosh. I'm an idiot. So, but definitely names, man. I'd mess up my own name if I could somehow. But definitely, I'm Jeffro. That's what you can call me, Jeffro. But no, but anyway, good to have Wham here. Good to have you here for Pumpkin Guts, the Hellbound Halloween. What a great book, and the passion and the work that you put into that. How many years? Is like 10 or more than that, wasn't it? How many years?
Well, if I had to really narrow it down, I technically started the first page in 2012, which brings it out to around 13. But the first several years, you're in college and you got other priorities. So I wasn't working on it full time. It was just kind of a thing I picked up every now and again. But it was about 2018 to 2023, I was really hammering hard on it, putting in 16-hour days, illustrating. And yeah, I'd do that for months and months at a time.
And were you doing it by hand? Was it by hand or computer? Or?
It was a combination of both. I first started out illustrating in Adobe Illustrator. I had a college professor that said it would look a little more professional, and I tried my hand at it. And I am pretty proud of the pages that I did do in Illustrator, but there's a turning point in the story where I thought it would be a little more fun to go traditional. And once I got the hang of traditional, there was no going back. It's so much more expressive. It's really my signature on things, and it looks a little more free. Yeah.
And who's the artist? How did you hook up with that dude?
Well, the colorist, he's actually a friend of mine that went to college with me. I did the illustrating and the inks. He did all the fantastic colors, and his name's Andrew Waldy. Yeah, we studied illustration together, and it wasn't long after college I just realized if I was ever going to get this done in my lifetime, you gotta make friends. You gotta have a team. Actual comic books have crews of up to 16 people and so on. So to have a small crew of about 4 people was speeding the process along, but if I had done everything by myself, I'd be 80 years old by the time I got the book out.
Yeah. And man, the illustration and the writing, it's a lot of work. I know it's a lot of work. Man. It's tedious.
Yeah. It was a very fun meditative process, if I could say the least. Sitting there in your element, you kind of get to obsess over each individual picture, and it's really rewarding seeing it kind of come to fruition.
Tell us a bit about the villain, the pumpkin-headed dude, the Pumpkin Guts. Tell us what you can about him. We don't want to give too much away, but what about the main villain?
Lord Halloween is what I've got. Is what I went to naming him. But he's actually based off one of the ancient Irish legends of how the jack-o'-lantern came to be. Essentially, there was a character named Stingy Jack, as the legend goes, and he tricked the devil because essentially the devil was going to drag him to hell. But him being a trickster, he talked himself into immortality, which in itself is a curse because there's no rest, there's no end to anything. He'd be here wandering the world long after the world was gone. I pulled elements from real life legend and kind of incorporated him into this main villain. It's kind of in the way that, so if you were to write a Christmas story, you would have Santa Claus. He'd be the icon of Christmas, but there really is no icon of Halloween. I mean, there's many. That's the great thing about Halloween. You've got anything from witches to goblins, ghosts, anything from Freddy Krueger to Michael Myers to Frankenstein's monster and Dracula. That's the great thing about Halloween. There's so many icons, you can't narrow it down to one. But because I wanted this character tied to the roots of Halloween, I did my research and really pulled from a lot of Irish lore.
How much have you learned about tricksters? I find that fascinating. Tricksters in Native American culture, of course, Loki and all that is very fascinating.
I'm lightly introduced to them. Uh, I guess basically when I discover a character that I really gain kind of an interest in, I go down a rabbit hole of learning everything you can about them. There's no particular trickster that comes to mind immediately that or at least off the top of my head that I'm drawn to, but it's kind of like getting into a band, right? The moment you discover Queen, all of a sudden you go down a rabbit hole of learning all about Freddie Mercury and Brian and all those guys.
And are they like the Ravens? Is it like a gang? It's like a serious gang. What can you tell us about them? They're like the heroes.
I'd call it kind of more like a club of kids, you know. When they were younger, they started out having their club as kids do, you know, like the Monster Squad or the Goonies. But then you grow up and you get into high school. The Ravens was kind of a play on things. Essentially, you know, as a horror fan, we're all familiar with Edgar Allan Poe and his classic, The Raven. But their mascot at school are the Crows, and there's always this, you know, colloquially, there's always this talk, this debate between crows or ravens, so I kind of incorporated them both. So as kids, they would have called themselves the Ravens just to be different. Um, and you know, you get into high school and you get to be too cool to really call yourself a club anymore. That's kid stuff, you know. So it kind of becomes a thing where a couple of the characters are hanging on to that nostalgia of when they were younger and, you know, were real tight like that. And then there's a couple of characters that are like, that's kid stuff. We're too cool for that. So it's kind of a story of these characters kind of finding their commonality again and, you know, really kindling that team work.
And it's interesting. Bigfoot shows up. What are some of the other characters? How does Bigfoot fit into that?
Well, the great thing about the entire story is I tried to pay homage to just about every monster I could possibly imagine that's associated with Halloween or anything spooky at all. And, you know, I feel like Bigfoot, in a way, is America's cryptid. You know, everybody, you know, thinks like Bigfoot's in their neighborhood, right? Even in Wisconsin. And I only recently found out that Bigfoot is more of a Pacific Northwest character. But even in my area, everyone's got that, you know, cutout of Bigfoot's silhouette, you know, just, you know, at the edge of their property. So when you're driving by, you're like, oh, is that Bigfoot? But it's just kind of a, you know, a fun thing that we all engage in. So there is a part in the story where a couple characters are wandering through a haunted forest, and on a splash page or two, I had to try and sneak in some of the more prominent cryptids that I was fascinated by. So Bigfoot makes an appearance, a Wendigo makes an appearance. Wisconsin has a particularly local cryptid called a hodag. He's in there for a panel or two, and there's a couple more.
You have a dog rampage happening, so I'm trying to contain
But yeah, as someone that's passionate about Halloween, there's really not a creature that goes bump in the night that you're not drawn to. You can find a passionate obsession in witches. You can find a passionate obsession in the Blob. Well, I can't legally do the Blob, but I could do, you know, a character of its likeness. So you got to incorporate cryptids. You got to incorporate the Halloween classics, skeletons, ghosts. I feel like pretty much after the advent of the 80s, the masked slasher, the masked killer has become a staple in culture. I mean, the hockey mask represents horror more than it represents hockey these days. So I snuck in a hockey masked character that's kind of an homage to essentially all the slashers that I could really think of. There's elements there, but, you know, distinct to kind of be their own character. But you got to kind of tip your hat and pay respect where it's due. So you you kind of like to sneak that stuff in when you can.
And right now, where's the best place to get it at for everybody? A link or the best place?
Right now, it's mostly available locally. I'm still dipping my feet into the world of sales online. It's available in several shops around my neck of the wood, a few local bookstores, the Volume 1 local store. There's a more of a kind of gothic spooky store around here called Black Kettle Tea Company, I believe. And Claremont Comics, you gotta have it at your local comic shop. There's a Decadent Arts or Decadent Gifts Art Gallery that is supplying it. So if you're in northwestern Wisconsin, that's where you can pick up a copy personally. If you're looking to buy it from me online, your best bet would be to find me on Instagram or Facebook. Reach out, message me, and I take Venmo, and I am happy to mail them out. But yeah, this book's really meant for those who have a passion for both horror movies, anything from terrifying to cheesy and fun, right? And anyone that just loves the Halloween season. I really tried to capture the way we romanticize our nostalgia for Halloween when we were kids, from running down the street, gathering as much candy as you can, to just staying in and having a scary movie night, popping in an old VHS or something. So if that's your speed, definitely reach out. I'd be happy to get you set up with a copy of the book. Right now, I'm currently pretty low on the soft covers, but I do have the hardcover, which is actually, honestly,
show us the cover of it. Show us the cover so we can see it. Is that the front or the back?
This is the front cover, but the back cover dust jacket is kind of more simplistic. And then if you slide the dust jacket off, I've made the back of the book out to look more like an old VHS, right down to your horror sticker,
nice.
The villain, your rating, and descriptions and so on. But that was kind of a big thing for me when I was a kid. Part of the generation that would go to your local video store and rent maybe 2 VHSs to watch over the weekend, while your parents got lost and did their own thing. So I was one of those kids that was glued to a TV, and anything that was spooky, I was in on. So yeah. I was renting the Halloween franchise, The Thing, The Blob, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. It was one of those situations where, your mom would not let you watch a rated R movie when you're like 13, 14 years old. But you go over to Dad's house and you tell Dad, oh yeah, Ma lets you watch this stuff all the time. So, when he's got stuff to do on a Saturday, Friday night, he lets you pick what you want. And I would watch those movies on repeat until we had to return them. So yeah, that's how I tried to style the book, to kind of be reminiscent of those old VHS box art that you'd find at your local stores.
It's really good. It's a great book, and I highly recommend it. It's definitely one of the most unique things I've seen in a while in comics. So definitely a lot of passion and work. So get a hold of him on Facebook if you want a copy. And that's me. We've had Stephen Flowers on before about Monster Kids. He has a book called Gothic Meditations at Midnight, and he's like a dude that does runes and stuff, and has some weird Temple of Set connections that are kind of weird, but a cool dude that has rescue animals and stuff. But he did a book. We got into Monster Kids real deep, like psychologically. So, kids that, I got picked on when I was younger and had cancer when I was younger at 17. And I escaped into that stuff. And some of the stuff I watched at the age I did, I can't believe. It was some sick stuff. It was just, I remember going to the VHS, and there was just at the VHS store and just crazy, like, horror stuff that was just like pieces, and I spit on your grave. Like, I remember, I see those boxes now, and it goes off in my head seeing that as a kid. But Jason and Freddy posters, and I idolized Freddy, and now it's like weird because Freddy's technically kind of into kids or something, right? A pedo on some level. So it's
I don't count the remake as canon. That's nothing. When I was a kid at 14 years old, I was obsessed with Freddy Krueger to the point that I'd be having conversations with people that are like, who asked, right?
Well, the old movies, did they say he was that, or was that just in the remake? Because I always ask that question, I forget about it. But I know that was in the older movies, so he wasn't that, and then finally, in the remake reboot or whatever they did it.
Essentially, yes. When Wes Craven first envisioned the character, he did think that was the most horrifying thing that could ever be done. But the studio rightfully kind of made him roll that back. So in the original series, he was just a child murderer. But in the remake, they definitely made him that. And that's what like turned me and anyone else that liked Freddy off to it. It's like, okay, that is not what we want our villains to be.
Yeah.
Like it's so hated that like when New Line Cinema releases that box set, the remake is never included, and they own the rights to it. But then meanwhile, when you get like the Friday the 13th franchise, they'll include the remake and every Friday or Jason movie that existed. But that just goes to show how much people don't like that in their villains.
Exactly. That's not a good thing to have in any villain, for sure. If you like the villain, if he's going to be likable on any level, but definitely, I was upset about Brian Fuller, them dropping him from that Friday 13th Crystal Lake series. I hope it still turns out good, but I loved Hannibal. That was amazing, and I was really pissed off that they canceled that. But Brian Fuller has a lot of trouble sticking with things, or gets in trouble, or quits, or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that series come out. Crystal Lakes really had a lot of, the TV shows already had a lot of mythos surrounding it. Like, is it going to happen? Is it canceled? Now it's going to happen, and now it's going to have Jason, whereas before it wasn't. And yeah,
I'm a little worried about Jason and where it's going, but hopefully something kicks off with it. But it's been through a lot of. It's pissed off about the video game thing. That game was awesome, and then they messed that up. Like they just really screwing the pooch on that one on a lot of different levels. So
yeah.
But yeah, I also saw Brian Fuller was going to do a Christine remake of some sort, which he probably got kicked off that too, but I don't know for sure.
They've been talking about that since like 2017, 2019. And so far nothing else has happened. I know a guy that's really big on the 58 Plymouth Christine car scene, and it sounds like some guys came out to film some test footage of one of his cars, but really there's been no update since I think 2019. So whether or not that's going to happen remains to be seen, even though we are kind of in a bit of a King renaissance again. So there's hope. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not very much a don't touch the original, it's perfect, we don't need to remake it. In my mind, we always have the original. We can always watch that one. Just in the same way that we don't have to watch the remake of Elm Street, we don't have to watch the new one if we don't want. The old one will always be there. But I would love, as a car enthusiast, the chance to see more of that car on screen, and knowing that they can use CG to destroy these cars now, we don't have to kill the real ones. So I would love to see it. I would love to see a more faithful adaptation, really.
I just finally got the book. I never read the book, which surprised me. I bought it and need to read it, but I've seen that movie. I love that John Carpenter movie. I've seen that a million times. I could watch it again right now.
Yeah, the score is phenomenal. Everything about it. I love it.
So you have a car like that, right?
Yeah, I do have a 58 Plymouth. It is Christine for all intents and purposes. In fact, give me a second here.
And I love the cosplay. That was really, really creative. The little car around you and everything. That was amazing.
There she is. Yeah. Get rid of some of that glare. There we are.
Very cool. Very cool. How hard was it to get that? Did you plan on doing it, or did it just kind of happen?
Well, I was already actually building a car. I've got a couple of parts cars, and I've been in the process of building one, and then this one came along, and basically it was one of those, this opportunity is only going to come once in a lifetime, so you kind of have to drop everything and make it happen, and go broke doing it. That's just kind of how it is. But that being said, even though I'm a car enthusiast, I do keep my car finances separate from the book. Anything I make on my book goes directly into my book. I don't borrow from that. the goal is to keep my book in the world. It's my life's work, and at this point, it's my magnum opus in life, and I really want to keep that out there. Any car related enthusiasm is all basically paycheck to paycheck type of stuff, you know.
Did you build it, or did you have to do a lot of work on it, or did it come as is?
Oh, so the one that I am still building one out of a '57 Plymouth. At this point, now that I have the '58, I might do my own thing with the '57. But yeah, when I bought that car, that's actually an adventure of itself. If you got time for a quick car story, I found this
I
project.
would love it. Would love it. Would love it.
Yeah. So I found this project car in Marketplace. It was over near Detroit, which is close to 800 miles from me, maybe give or take. Well, once I knew I'd talked to the gentleman that was selling it, he had basically dug it out of the dirt, got it running. It was up to the rockers in dirt. It had sank right into the ground. So it had been outside for about 5 years and had been parked for about 20 years before that. Well, once he got it running and took it around the block, he didn't think I should chance it, but I took a one-way flight over to Detroit. He picked me up, and after looking at the car for maybe an hour, me and my brother hopped in it, and we drove 800 miles home in this car that hadn't run in 25 years. It was a pretty incredible adventure, but I'll say we burnt 8 quarts of oil. So we went through 2 oil changes in the drive home. I've pulled up the carpet, the floor was Swiss cheese. I've had to completely weld in new floors. I've had to essentially wire wheel all the rust off, and I've painted a rust preventative agent over everything. And right now I've pulled the engine out and we're basically redoing it. The rings were cracked, so it needed a heck of a lot of work, and it's still a goal to finish that car. But you do it because it's a hobby. You do it because you love it. You know, it's, some people play video games, some people build Legos, but I've always been an artist, and to me, working, whether it's on paper with pencil and ink or, with my hands, I do a lot of woodworking and I do a lot of metalworking, and cars is just the newest thing that gets my brain turning, makes me think. And, I think as people, we like to occupy our minds with stuff. We like to problem solve. We like to create challenges and overcome them. And that's my newest challenge.
And you have a hearse too. You're in that scene. If you want to tell us a little bit about that, I find that very fascinating. We used to have someone had a hearse in Georgia a long time ago when I lived there. That's where I was born. Now I'm in Florida, but it was like an older hearse fixed up and then had Nosferatu painted on it. It looks so cool. I've always loved them. But yeah, anything you can tell us about that scene? I find it fascinating. There was a guy on here that's in Tampa that has a ice cream hearse that gives out like dead whatever, some kind, I forget the name of it, screaming something or something, but he serves ice cream out of a coffin in his hearse.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually drove the hearse to work today. It was I made my own keychain. But anyway, yeah, so the hearse was kind of another thing. That might actually been my first foray into cars. I was just, one day I kind of thought, I wonder what it'd be like to drive a hearse. And, we weren't even sure if it was legal. So I looked it up and it was. And then I kind of went down that rabbit hole. And I kind of told myself if I was ever going to own one, it had to be a 92. It's my favorite year. So, and that was the last year they did the square body style. So I must have waited a good year before one finally popped up in the exact year that I wanted. And it was from a very kind gentleman down in Louisville, Kentucky. So again, I took a one-way flight down by myself that time, having never met the person. You just, you talk to him, you either trust him or you don't. And he was very kind. He was a very good guy. Picked me up at the airport and showed me the car, and I fell in love when I got to drive it, and it drove me all the way home. Been on a lot of adventures with these cars. There's even a major festival over in Michigan called Hearse Fest, where last year we broke a world record for the longest procession of funeral hearses. I believe 185 cars showed up, and I think 155 attended the procession. But it was a pretty big doing.
That's
Yeah,
cool. Did your hearse actually have dead people in it? Would it have a history of that? And most of them do, right?
yeah, yeah. This one came out of, I believe I think it was West Virginia. And the gentleman I bought it from got it from there, drove it home, and he kept it in Louisville for years. But beneath the seats, I found pens and brochures that had the original funeral home address on it. So that's kind of a really cool piece of history. It was in service for years until they sold it and had to update their fleet, essentially. But they're fun. They're boats to drive, though. They're long and they have a lot of blind spots.
You got some good speakers in it.
Yeah, I got some pretty good speakers. It's good jamming out to your favorite tunes. I'm a Ghost guy, so I really love listening to the band Ghost and just cruising around in those old Cadillacs. And they don't send you to the grave in a jalopy, so they make a fancy car even fancier. It floats down the road.
I've listened to Ghost. I like them. I need two more though. I need to get into it a lot more. I think it's definitely a good band. I was just listening to the new Rob Zombie. It was called Punks and Demons. I didn't think. I mean, I know his music was always kind of had an evil kind of like Satan theme, but he really gone down the Satan road in this last new song. It's very ministry, but definitely it sounds good, but definitely kind of creepy for sure. A lot more creepier than it usually is, which. I like his music, but his music's usually got a kind of a movie flair, or, different kinds of movies and things that kind of thing going on. But this just seems like some ministry serious, stuff about Führers and weird stuff. But it was good, but definitely he's got a lot more creepier, which I didn't think that was possible, but he did it.
Yeah, I'll have to give it a listen to, all that stuff, that's kind of against cultural norms. It starts out edgy, but it's really good music. I mean, think of the late, great Ozzy Osbourne. That man performed until his final days. What a legend. And back in the day, he was probably hated by the Satanic Panic, group of people.
I love Ozzy and, grew up with Black Sabbath, and a lot of the music I like, I mean, there's some stuff I'll listen to, but I have trouble with some stuff where I can't understand what they're saying. I mean, I'll listen to it, but I don't find myself going back to the like, blah, 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 blah. It's like, what the hell did he just say? But I'm more drawn to people with unique voices like Ozzy and Typo Negative. Rob.
Oh, I just discovered Typo Negative like in the last month, and I've gone down that rabbit hole. Peter Steele had such a just menacing voice.
Yeah, he's like Dracula.
Yeah.
What would Dracula sound like if he was singing? And that's the first run-in that I had with Typo Negative was a weird one. Someone I knew was into them, but some lady at work came up and he was naked in one of those books, and it's like didn't want to see him that way when I first met Peter Steele, but she's like, look, and there's Peter Steele's dong. It's like, oh, I don't want to see that. But I've always loved his music and was sad, that he passed away. And Alice in Chains is another one, those unique voices that are really hard to, they're not there anymore. They are, but they're hard to dig for. Ghost has that. But a lot of these bands nowadays just sound like, clones that coming off the Assembly line, and then it's hard to find a unique voice. I really like a unique voice.
Yeah.
That you know what the hell they're saying and it sounds cool.
Yeah.
But what was some music you grew up with that what were some of the influences of all this?
Well, that's actually a good question. So I've always kind of been all over every genre. I mean, like mostly at my mom's house, like we listened to the Golden Oldies country, your Hank Williams Sr. and Johnny Cash and all those guys. But she would venture into your Queen, and I really started getting into rock and roll through Queen. I went through the Beatles, then I discovered Queen, Def Leppard, all those guys, Journey. But I really started getting into like a lot of like metal, just probably more recently in the last 5 years, I want to say. Like I say, I'm late to the party. I just discovered Typo Negative. I love all those pop punk bands from the 90s, because that's my era, 90s and early 2000s. So they're nostalgic to me. When I listen to that stuff, that takes me back to that era. So there are influences there, but once I started getting into metal, that stuff's a trip, man. That really gets you going. Um, in the book, actually, so there's times when you kind of want to pay tribute to a couple of musicians, but legally you can't actually quote song lyrics in books. Was something I discovered doing research. So maybe you'll mention a band's name or you know give the impression of their music, but you can't quote their lyrics. But yeah.
What were some of the bands that were the pop rock bands or whatever? You mean like Korn or stuff like that? What do you mean?
So punk rock, I'm talking like your Blink 182.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a Green Day.
I like Green Day.
Yeah, yeah, those guys.
I have a weird Tom DeLonge story. He's Blink 182, right?
Yeah.
There's a guy, Christo Rupolo. He has a UFO documentary called Curse of the Man That Sees UFOs, and it's about his real UFO stuff. He gets crazy stuff on video that's just crazy in California, and it could be military, it could be alien. I don't know what the hell it is, but he names them like jellyfishes and eggplants, and he's real funny, like this punk rock kind of dude. And he used to have, it passed away, the dog from Pirates of the Caribbean. I forget what kind of dog it is, but he had that dog. He owned it. But anyway, he was hanging out with Tom DeLonge since Tom DeLonge's into the UFO stuff heavily, and they were at a beach or something, and Tom DeLonge had some government spooks around him, like some kind of shady, I'm not going to say Men in Black, but obviously they seem like they're from some kind of government agency. And Christo was like, I'm concerned that you're hanging out with all these government, people because of the UFO thing and everything. And anyway, Christo said he found a bug in his car after it.
Oh,
So that was kind of creepy. But definitely, sorry, dog's acting crazy. Well, it's not a full moon, I don't think. I think that already passed. But so anything weird ever happened with the cars to where you're like they're haunted or nothing ghostly or anything weird with some of these cars?
cars really do have personalities of their own. I mean, like they really do. Like King hit a nerve right there when he was going on about Christine having a mind of her own and her own personality. Like, one crazy story I had with Christine this summer. So it was one of the, I want to say 90 plus degree days that we had up here this summer. And I was going to promote the book by taking Christine. It was going to be her big grand reveal because I kept it good and quiet for a year that I had her. But I was going to have the grand reveal during our local hometown parade. Every town has that weekend where they get a carnival and have a little street dance and celebration. Well, I spent the whole night and the day before polishing up Christine for the grand reveal. But when you're driving cars really slow on a hot day, they can overheat. And I was worried about that to begin with. But like the next morning, I rolled her out so I could scrub up the white walls. And I only moved the car about 10 feet, and she left the thickest trail of transmission fluid. So to the point that your heart's like, oh my God, what's going on with my car? Ultimately, she was telling me that I don't want to be in this parade today. I'm going to overheat. So she essentially had a mechanical meltdown and couldn't be in the parade. Instead, I took my hearse, which I named Nancy after the final girl from Nightmare on Elm Street, Heather Langenkamp's character. But that car is much more up to date, aluminum radiator. I'm getting into all kinds of car mumble jumbo. But ultimately, it's kind of spooky how like these cars have personalities. Like when they're going down the road, they're almost talking to you, saying, "I don't like this. I do like this." When they're having a good day, you know it. When they're having a bad day, they're putting up an attitude. That I think is kind of the most spooky thing about them. They do have almost living, breathing personalities.
And then the Christine, the guy gets kind of possessed by, I can't remember, was it a spirit of the car or someone? Who was the person that the car had like possessing it? It was a ghost or something, wasn't it?
So it's different between the book and the movie. in the book, the former owner of the car, Roland LeVay, dies, and he kind of finds his way back into life by possessing the new owner. So Arnie starts to slowly kind of at times become possessed by Roland LeVay, and the car is haunted by his spirit. The car does have a personality, but it's also the former owner haunting the car within as well, trying to take over. Whereas in the movie, the car was her own person, her own personality, and it was kind of like love drove him insane. He'd do anything for your girl. So he kind of went crazy because of the car in the movie, which is why I wouldn't mind seeing another adaptation. It would be cool to see the angle where Roland is haunting the car and decaying in the back seat or whatever. Yeah.
Brian Fuller would have been perfect, but I don't know if he's still doing it or not. I don't know. I know he was going to do Interview the Vampire and pulled out of that, and that still kind of turned out sort of good. I saw some of it. I mean, it was decent, but he was supposed to do Christine. I don't know if it was a movie or a series. I'd have to Google it and see what's up with that, but he has a track record of. I know he just did a new movie that's supposed to be good. I forget the name of it, Bunny or something, with Mads Mikkelsen, and Brian Fuller just put out a movie. So I don't know if they're still doing the Christine thing, but it seems like they could get a lot more deeper into it for sure. Oh, we saw the Long Walk the other night. Man, it was good, but those were rough. It definitely got sick there, but definitely good. Definitely sad too on a lot of levels, and kind of a hard watch with the violence, which I don't mind that, but it's definitely gruesome as far as just the story and everything. Mark Hamill was really good in that too. God, he's creepy. Did you get to see that yet? The Long Walk?
Not yet. It is on my bucket list. I did hear, isn't that one of King's earlier works?
Yeah, it may have been one of the Bachman ones. I'm not sure for sure, but maybe I may have been one of his Richard Bachman books. I can't remember, but definitely King. It's definitely a King. There's a book. He has a book about it. It's kind of. I think it's not as big as normal of his books, but it's definitely really good. But basically, they're in this. I don't know. It's kind of like a weird contest, and kind of seems kind of fascist, and the only one person can live, and they have to walk, and if you do anything wrong, they'll shoot you. I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say there was people whacked because they had to poop. which, and that was kind of some gross scenes because they had to do it while they're walking. So that was really good, but kind of sick.
I hope it's implied and not shown.
Well, but that's like, so what do you think of Terrifier? Have you seen those yet? I really like them, but the gore is like, damn.
I love it. It's kind of everything that a slasher fan has wanted out of their slashers since the 80s. But as the 80s went on, the MPAA cracked down on everything. They would have to film excessive violence in the hopes that the MPAA would only cut out little bits. But in this day and age, with you being able to put I think Terrifier 2 was NC-17 or 3 was NC-17. They were able to put that in theaters or having uncut versions. It's great because
I liked them. Some of those scenes, man, some of those were rough, but I'm used to it. But yeah, some of those were like, damn, that's a lot. What was it called when they freeze you or whatever? That was crazy. And the third one, the cryogenics or whatever. No, what is that called? Yeah,
liquid nitrogen. I think.
Yeah, God. I have a lot of those little figures and stuff, and definitely.
I collect the NECA figures as well. That's what you're talking about?
Yeah. That stupid Walmart one they released, I hate when they do that. Did you get the bloody one that was only at Walmart?
I have not. It's been on my radar to pick him up, but I haven't been able to.
It's on eBay. I would just say you're probably going to pay more for it if you actually get it.
That's all right. There's demand, so they'll just keep making them, and a year down the line, I'll just get one then.
Yeah, though, and the prices are lower on eBay. They're not on Walmart anymore. I tried to get one, and they couldn't even do it. I mean, they were supposed to deliver it, and they canceled it because they sold out so fast. Mm-hmm. But now, of course, they're on eBay for double.
Yeah.
sucks. But well, basically, there's a plain one that's the white without the blood, and it's basically the same figure. The other figure just has blood all over it. It's the same thing, just bloody. So if you get the first one, you pretty much have it. It's kind of like variants from comic books.
Yeah, that's the genius model that NECA has put out. You know, they can release variants. It's literally the same mold. They just paint them different. So that's pretty genius.
Yeah, I've really liked those Ben Cooper Halloween ones too that they put out. They put out these like the old Halloween costumes from Ben Cooper. They have figures now at NECA, and those get pretty crazy, hard to catch. They just put out some Kiss ones and some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ones and stuff. Then they have the old ones like Frankenstein and Nosferatu. They even have a Terrifier one. And but anyway, yeah, NECA puts out some good stuff. It's just at a point you just look at it and say, who cares? But some of it I'll get once in a while. I have a penchant for Nosferatus and Vlad the Impaler figures, which there's a lot of Nosferatus, but not many Vlad the Impalers. There's a few Vlad the Impalers out there. From Todd McFarlane's got one. Mm-hmm. There's a sideshow one. I have that one, but yeah. What are some of the horror movies that you grew up with? I know you've mentioned some of them, but what were some of the big ones that fed into pumpkin guts?
Well, I'm trying to think some of the gateway movies that got me into horror. When I was a little kid, I was obsessed with the holiday Halloween. Like I was the kind of kid that couldn't sit down and watch Superman without wearing a red cape. I always had to wear costumes. I'm also a cosplay artist. I build a lot of costumes, but anyway, I digress. So starting out, I think Beetlejuice might have been my first entry into the world of spookier movies. I saw that at 5 years old and I obsessed over it. I probably wore out the VHS. Other movies, that I loved as a kid would have been Ernest, Scared Stupid, the old Ernest movies. That is an underrated Halloween classic. Hocus Pocus has finally become mainstream, but that's one we all loved as a kid. As I got older, you'd catch a horror movie here and there, but I think around the age of, I want to say 9 to 11, somewhere in there, that's when I really fell in. I remember seeing an old Freddy Krueger pinball machine, and something about the image of this burnt up guy with the glove just, it etched its way into my mind. Another one. We were in a hotel when I must have been like 4 or 5 years old. And, the family was passed out in the room, but me and my older brother had access to the cable remote. Because at home, we only had like 4 channels. So whenever we went someplace that had TV back then, the world was your oyster. So everyone's passed out. My brother gets the remote, and I think he put on Phantasm 2. And there was some pretty grotesque imagery in there that, like, as a 5-year-old kid, I must have been just like traumatized. So much so that I hadn't seen a blink of that movie in about 20 years. But when I saw the DVD sitting on the shelf at Walmart, probably a decade ago now, it had been 20 years since I seen it. But like I recognized that steel ball with the knives coming out of it and the drill. I'm like, oh my God, that's that movie that I saw in a hotel when I was a little kid. So I watched that and I loved it, because I already expressed when I was like 14 years old, I obsessed over Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, The Evil Dead. I was hand making all those costumes. I built a Freddy Krueger glove in my garage, pretty damn accurate, I want to say, at the age of 15 years old. Learned how to use soldering and flux, learned how to use a bench vise and a grinder, and I was walking around whenever I could dressed up. But yeah, I obsessed over that stuff. And here we are today. Now I'm digging deeper into the more obscure stuff that I haven't quite seen yet, or trying to keep up with what's new.
David, that plays Terrifier, has come to my Facebook a good time and hung out with, mostly talking trash about Trump, which is fine. But he stops by sometimes, so it's kind of funny to see the Terrifier clown on your Facebook. He's raising hell. He's a trip. But he definitely does a good Joker too. I wish he'd get that role sometime. He'd be a perfect Joker. He does a part where he can do that Joker really good. But as far as one of the movies that messed with me as a kid was that Toxic Avenger when the dudes were running over the kids' heads. For some reason, it really messed with me as a kid. But those are definitely. I've watched the first one recently, and I'm not real big into trauma. I don't hate it. I might like it more now when I'm older, but I'm like, oh, what is this? But I'll watch them. And the new Toxic Avenger, I want to see that. I hear it's pretty good. With Peter Dinklage and all that. Make It Blair, is it? It's supposed to be pretty decent. And Hellraiser, my God, those are some good ones. Those are deep and just twisted, like just everything about that with Pinhead and everything, and just the torture. And
I really like the first two. I wish that franchise had gotten the same love and care that Elm Street had, or Halloween, and well, Elm Street honestly had the best care for it. Most of those movies still, consecutively and continuity wise, they had budget and they had care put into them. I love Pinhead, especially in the first couple Hellraisers. 1 and 2 are excellent. After that, it's a gradual slope downhill. They just were constantly coming up with random scripts and shoehorning Pinhead into a few minutes to make it a Hellraiser movie. They didn't write movies around Clive Barker's work. Honestly, I think the I don't know if you call it a remake or a new imagining. Honestly, that's one of the best ones since number 2.
The newest one with the chick Pinhead, yeah, it was good. It was decent. They're doing a video game that actually looks pretty good. I'm hoping it turns out pretty good, but it looks good from what I'm seeing. It's supposed to be coming out a whole Hellraiser game. It looks pretty interesting for sure.
I've been seeing the advertisements, but I've got to look more into the gameplay. Did I hear? Are they also doing a Halloween one?
Sure are, and I think the guys that maybe there's a Killer Clowns from Outer Space game that's kind of online multiplayer that's good. They may be the ones doing Halloween. I'd have to look it up, but the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game was crazy. That's twisted. That's really good. That was by the people that did Friday 13th, but that's some craziness. That game really creepy, for sure. I saw the Ed Gein thing from the Ryan Murphy, and it was good, but I mean, I could see some problems with it, but it was good for one watch. It's not anything I'm going to rush back into and watch again, but it was good for one go round.
So I got to speak to that since Gein is a local boy around our area. So it was an entertaining watch. I'll say that. I don't really get deep into the real life stuff, but you hear talk growing up and whatnot. And they definitely exaggerated a lot of stuff in that show. Like if there was a 1% chance that something could have happened, then in the show 100% it definitely happened.
Yeah,
so they really took a lot of liberties.
Yeah, too many. I would have rather seen something more true to the actual thing, but he definitely went a little overboard. But it was good. I think Charlie Hunnam did a good job of playing him for sure. I haven't seen Dahmer or Mendez Brothers. That seems like hard watches, especially from this dude. But I watched the Gein one.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I didn't watch the first 2 seasons myself, but I think we all heard about Gein growing up just because he was, he's probably Plainsfield's probably within 100 miles of where I live.
Is his house gone? Did it really get burned down and stuff?
Yeah, that was burnt down within like a week or 2 of when he died. Yeah.
Did they really auction it? Do you know? Did they really do an auction and all that, or is that fake too?
That I don't know. I would imagine something like that happened, but all I know is like even up like when I was in high school, you would hear like, don't mention Ed Gein in that town. They hate it. They will, they don't appreciate that. So I can't speak to it because I wasn't there. I've never actually been there, but I've been told that it's kind of disrespectful to bring him up in their town. Yeah.
That's very common.
And then,
and by the way, they were before the house was auctioned off. It was burned down, and they don't know how it caught on fire. It is presumed probably it was arson, but they don't know for sure. But that's actually very common. To the town that the Villanova murders took place in, even though the house itself, that's in Iowa, even though the house itself is sort of a tourist trap because there are people who want to hang out in it. You don't really want to talk to people in the town about it that much. And in Kansas City, in the Hyde Park neighborhood, which is the neighborhood that Bob Rodella, who was a serial killer who came out of Kansas City in the early 90s, his house was similarly destroyed, but by a guy who actually purchased the house and then decided to tear it down so that it wouldn't be kind of a sightseeing thing. But people in Kansas City in that area don't like to talk about Bob Rodella either. You don't like your neighborhood being associated with such things.
Yeah, you want to be remembered for positive things, not
right, exactly.
horrible atrocities. Yeah.
Wham knew the Bordello dude, which is a crazy serial killer dude.
Yeah.
But the Gein thing, like he only really dug up like 2 people, and I don't even know if he killed them. Did he?
I think he might have killed 2 people.
Well, he killed 2 people and dug up a whole bunch of other people. He killed 2 people for sure. Well, here's the thing. We know he murdered 2 women. He confessed to it. It is believed that he probably killed his brother, his eldest brother. That wasn't seen at the time, but subsequent when they did another autopsy of his body, they realized that he in fact had sustained a head wound prior to being asphyxiated by the fire. So it is believed now that he probably did kill his elder brother. But he only admitted to 2 murders. The other bodies were bodies it is presumed that he dug up. And he did confess to digging a lot of bodies up. So,
but he really made like furniture and stuff. Like in the show, they try to allude that some Nazi lady did that to Jewish people, and that's where he kind of got off on it and saw some comic of her, which I don't know if that's true, probably not, but there was something about him making furniture. That's some crazy as hell, though. But I like the show where they kind of flash back to Alfred Hitchcock and then Tobe Hooper. That was cool. And of course, I don't believe Hitchcock had a room on the studio that had fake, I don't know if they're fake vaginas in a dresser drawer or whatever. There's some, I wouldn't watch it again, but it was good for one go round.
Yeah, the show was very obsessed with all of the horror movies that Gein inspired. I mean, they had to pay tribute to Hitchcock. They had to pay tribute to Tobe Hooper and Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah.
There was even a nod or 2 to like Michael Myers, just, the framing and how he's standing outside in the dark. It's just like wherever that show could be like, oh my gosh, he inspired this, and this, and this. They were so obsessed with that they were telling those stories and not just that story,
Yeah, it was cool to see him go to those, but yeah, it's kind of a cheese factor. I know Osgood Perkins, Anthony Perkins' son, was kind of upset about it and said he wouldn't watch it with a 10-foot pole. But yeah. And then, it was worth one go round. I know he's supposed to be doing what's the lady that kills you with an axe? I forget her name. Lizzie Borden or whatever next or something. The axe lady chick. But yeah, William, he's got some cool cosplay. He's got one where he's like the dude from Christine and has sunglasses and a weird eye and then has a little car around his waist like Christine, like a little miniature car where he's driving it. Yep. That's awesome.
I guess I'm not bragging, but that costume, I built that. I built that out of wood. I'm primarily a woodworker. So everything on that was constructed in my wood shop. I'm very proud of my tolerances and how I can work a tape measure. But that costume, I wore that to a major horror convention in Chicago called, I'm actually wearing the t-shirt. There's a major convention in Chicago area called Flashback Weekend. And the year I went down for this, 2024, I guess, that costume took first prize, best in show, in the Sven Gulli. If any of you are familiar with Sven Gulli. Yeah, he's one of the major horror hosts coming out of Chicago. You know, he's like, well, he's not quite the level of Elvira, but he's your Joe Bob Briggs type level guy, right? He was the judge of the costume contest, and it was kind of really cool getting to meet him, and that at least he thought it was that cool.
That's my new. I finally found Me TV on my cable. It took forever to find it. I used to just get them the antenna, but now I've been watching them every week. There's also a crazy one that comes on PBS. You ever heard of it? Nightmare Theater. It's so weird. Like it comes on PBS and it's called Nightmare Theater. It's like there's a song about Satan and stuff. You're like, what the hell am I watching? And they show really crappy movies and guys devil horns. One's dressed like a wolf and like looks like a furry. And then the other guy has a wrestling mask, but it's on PBS after the Spenguli, and it comes on PBS, and it's just the weirdest thing. It comes on late at night on the same night, I guess Saturday nights, but look on PBS on your guide or whatever if you can find it. You'll be like, what the hell? This is so weird. It's on PBS.
Well, you got to be exaggerated and big to stand out in the world, I guess.
Yeah. And I haven't watched it as much, but I'll watch it sometimes. But I'm trying to get the picture of you dressed on the screen. Let's see if I can do it. Kind of suck at this, but I'm trying. Did I do it? Yeah, there it is. Hold on, I almost got it. Okay, I did it. Wait, hold on. There we go. There it is. That's really cool.
Yeah, I probably should have sent one to you, a few pictures to you beforehand, but I've really gotten into horror cosplay recently. I do a pretty mean Jack Nicholson. I like to joke that he and I have the same hairline.
Yeah. That's
so
do you see it, Wham? You see the That's pretty cool though. Yeah, I like that. Love Jack Nicholson, definitely. And definitely miss his movies. And they're still there, but he's not making any new ones, which is understandable. But I always love Jack Nicholson for sure.
Oh yeah, he's fun to watch in everything he's in. Choose the scenery.
Witches of Eastwick. Batman had a big effect on me psychologically. It was right after going through chemo and stuff, and it's like I got Jokerized, and quite literally. And then I went back to school for senior dress up, and I dressed up as that, and it kind of went to my head. I probably should have went to the nut farm. But yeah.
Another man. Some pictures. I dressed as Jack Nicholson's Joker, right down to the prosthetics and everything. I'll send you some stuff after the fact, but I did a. If you feel like combing through my, I've got an album on Facebook that's called Costumed Photo Shoots. The first pictures of me as Robin Hood, but that's everything from like, I don't know, early college to now. The farther down in that album you get, the closer you'll get to like more recent stuff I've done. But anyway, I digress. Cosplay, horror, anything Halloween. Halloween is, that's the holiday where you get to dress up as a monster or whatever the heck you want. So anyway, that's how I segue from doing cosplay to Halloween. I've always loved dressing in costumes, and that's kind of a theme that actually happens in the book. Costumes do come in to a pretty significant part of the plot, especially in the third act. And actually the start of the second act.
So what do you got cooking in the future? Is there going to be a sequel to Pumpkin Guts, or is there something else? I can see you doing a book about all this cosplay stuff with your pictures and stuff in it or something like that. That would be cool.
I've got a couple of stories that I'd like to tell. I would love to tell a sequel to Pumpkin Guts, and I've set it up so that another story could be told. And I've got a story in the works right now that I've been kind of working over that I would love to tell, but I got to make this book really go someplace if I'm going to set aside the time to make that happen. I would love to, but a person like me is always finding the next big art project that they can do. So it's kind of a matter of deciding what I'm going to dedicate the time, and making books like this does cost money. I got to pay my people, I got to pay my colorist, my letterer, my editor, and still be able to pay my bills. But I'd love to tell a sequel to this story. And I'm working on kind of a different take on a slasher. I feel like everybody these days that is getting into horror has to tell their own slasher story. And I've kind of got one, I don't really want to go in detail on it, but I got an idea that I'm kicking around that I think that's, well, really goes hand in hand with what I do in life. Oh, I love your cat. We've got a little black cat that looks just like her.
Charlotte. But yeah, I with this slasher stuff, there was what was those movies by the X and Pearl. Like those were good for a watch, but I was kind of disappointed that there wasn't a dude slasher in it or something. I mean, I don't mind it being a woman sometimes, but it's like it seemed like a missed opportunity for like a crazy, killer. Like they were good, but I was like, where's the killer? There's not a brother or something.
Pearl I really liked. I mean, X was good. X was horrifying in places. Honestly, they really nailed like some real psychological horror in those slashers. But I really dug Pearl. I loved how it kind of took place in, was it the 30s or the 20s? I loved that era that it took place in. And that speech she gives at the end when she's sitting at the table talking to her, I think it's her cousin. But like, you can just see that she's unhinged and that this girl is not safe. They're talking like she's safe, but like you just see her fly off the handle. And I mean, she nailed that character. That is her franchise. I haven't seen Maxine yet, which is the third one. It's hard for me to figure out how that one's tied to the other two, but
that I think is the girl that fed away in the first movie and whacked with some of the villains, and then she kind of went off, and it's kind of her story. And it was good. I mean, they're good movies, but I was still like, I guess I wanted a mutant killer, but that can't be, that gets to be too much too. I like Hatchet. Do you like those? Those are pretty good, and they get kind of crazy. Hatchet.
I've gotten into them a little bit. It was one of those movies I started one night and then I had to put down to go do something else, and I haven't gotten back to it, but I do like the New Orleans setting. That looks fun.
They're worth the watch for sure. They're good. Kane Hodder, you can't go wrong with that for sure. And God, there's one I saw, The Substance. That was good, but it was kind of like soft porn, and it definitely was not anything I'd watch again, but it was good. The first go around.
That one's on my list. I've heard there's some really good body horror in it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good, but don't have children around. That's all I'm gonna say. A lot of nudity for sure. But yeah, it's good. It's good for one watch. I'd watch the Terrifiers again, but there's definitely some of them, man. God, like there's just, I'm not going to be throwing up from them or anything. A lot of stuff doesn't faze me, so I was more shocked that it was phasing me. I'm jaded from seeing all this stuff, but those actually, those affect you on some level watching that. For sure. I like more subtle stuff, creature features and things like that. And I saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, not too long ago. Man, that was really good. Just eerie, just so, God, it sticks with you for a while. Just haunting on so many different levels. I love the drive-in, and there's actually one around here. I wouldn't mind going to it. That's in Alabama, but it's just good to find good stuff. There's one called Bring Her Back I want to see that's supposed to be good. Haven't seen it yet. Been finding a lot of old on YouTube. Really has a lot of good old 80s cartoons from like specials and stuff. Like what was it? The Halloween is Grinch Night. The Grinch. There's a Grinch Halloween special. It's 25 minutes from the 70s. I wondered if it influenced Tim Burton on some level. And then there was a Garfield's Adventure that was kind of good. Love that Halloween Tree. That's a good one from Ray.
Both of those are in my brain from when I was a kid. Those are Halloween classics, and they don't get played enough anymore.
Which one's Garfield or Halloween Tree? Both of them?
Both of them.
And started watching some commercials. Like they have just reels of Halloween commercials from McDonald's, Snickers, the weirdest like Freddy call-in lines, and some crazy dude that walks you through a haunted house and you call like a phone sex number, but I guess there's no sex. It's just like a weird haunted house. Like all these just clips of crazy 80s made me want to get a time machine.
Everybody used to really go all in on the Halloween advertisements back in the day. But nowadays, with everything kind of being algorithm based, we're not all watching the same thing at the same time. So we've kind of, in a way, lost some of that community. Because back when we all had 8 channels, they advertised they're playing, you know, uh, The Blob on Saturday night. So everyone watches The Blob. They see all those same commercials. You talk about it. But nowadays, I'm getting advertisements for men that need hair and stuff like that. Whereas, the next person's getting advertisement toys for tots or something like that.
Yeah, it's funny. You just put in like 80s Halloween commercials and they just have reels of it. I just like play it for background.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are really good. Miss those days. They seem like they're dead now, for sure. Like it's still there, but not like that. There's something special about that stuff. There's also a Ghostbusters with the Halloween dude too. That's kind of a villain. I want to see that. I saw that on there. I haven't seen that one. I don't think where one of the villains is kind of like a Sleepy Hollow kind of thing. Love the old Sleepy Hollow ones, like the movies and the Disney one. And there's one weird cartoon that was Sleepy Hollow. I've never seen. That was on one reel on YouTube. I need to check that out. But anything else come to mind? Any of the classic stuff some stuff that is there's anything every year you got to watch it? You got to for Halloween?
Well, I don't want to sound cliche, but Hocus Pocus and Ernest Scared Stupid, I feel like are Halloween staples that a person needs to watch. This year, and Halloween itself, the original John Carpenter film, that's also like a staple that you need to watch every year. But this year I'm trying to do things a little bit different. And right now I'm currently taking my girlfriend through all the Universal monster movies. So we're going through Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, all the primary characters.
Nice.
Might make her watch a couple of the sequels or maybe an Abbott and Costello, but yeah.
Good. I love the silent stuff too. I love the Universal, but Nosferatu. Like I have a set of the silent stuff. Jekyll and Hyde. Those are just haunting. I like the new Nosferatu too. I thought he did a good job with that one. The Eckers, makes good stuff, but that was good. But I love the Klaus Kinski Nosferatu. That was creepy as hell. You ever see the color Nosferatu with Klaus Kinski from the 70s?
Yeah, we were watching that one probably about a month ago. It opened up with like real mummies.
I know, real mummified babies or something. That's a way to start it.
Yeah.
I love Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. I thought he did a good job. That's one I could watch all the time for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Originally, there was a rumor that Brad Pitt was bought the rights for a Vlad the Impaler historical movie, no fantasy like 300 or Braveheart, but Vlad the Impaler. But I haven't heard anything else about it. I wish someone would do it. I don't know if I want to see Brad Pitt as Vlad the Impaler. I like Brad Pitt, but I mean, he might be able to do it if anyone could. But it's kind of hard to imagine. But yeah, I wish they would do a real Vlad the Impaler without the fantasy element.
Yeah, they probably had like a dozen fantasy movies where he's Dracula, but where's the real historical account?
Yeah. There's one. There's actually a Vlad the Impaler movie on YouTube that was released by Romania. That's like from their government. I haven't watched it yet, but it looks pretty decent. It's old, so it looks kind of weird. But love Hammer horror. You ever get into Hammer? I love it.
Yeah, I was watching some of the Draculas. I've meant to delve into the Frankensteins, but Christopher Lee as Dracula, that guy is a presence. Like, God, it'd be, it's sometimes it's fun to imagine, like, what would it look like if Lugosi and Lee were sitting in a room, talking, or how would they play against one another on screen? But, one inspires the other. I mean, we wouldn't have the horror movies of today if we didn't have the original silent films and black and white films. Art inspires art. I mean, art inspires art. Art inspired me to make my book. It's a dedication to the history of telling horror stories, all the way from our ancestors that told ghost stories around a campfire on up to the dawn of the silver screen for the splatter films of the 80s and onward.
Yeah, I escaped into a lot of that stuff. And then for bullies, like when I had bullies, I kind of took on dark personalities and would say weird stuff to them. Like I had a black trench coat and black when I came back from chemo. There were mean kids that said I had AIDS. It's like, gee, thanks. I just went through chemo, you friggin' assholes. You're going to say I have AIDS? But anyway, next thing you know, they're calling me devil worshiper and vampire because I wasn't any of that stuff. But I kind of took on, I was into those Anne Rice books a lot when I was going through chemo. And I kind of like I have a weird thing with imagination, and I can kind of like that stuff will kind of grab onto me like it did with Joker and the Tim Burton movies. And I even had some weird thing with the Young Guns, Billy the Kid thing. Like I thought I was Billy the Kid when I was younger or something stupid. but some of that stuff sticks to you, you know, those realms of imagination, they'll stick to you. And you find yourself using them as a protection, like a defense on some level.
Yeah.
Protect yourself.
Got to embrace the archetype, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I like a lot of this stuff. I mean, it can keep you from being a serial killer if you use it with a creative way. It's a channel and input and create with it instead of actually killing people. You can do it with a dragon. There's a new Joe Hill book I got. Luckily, they sent it to me because it's kind of expensive but I need to promote it. Joe Hill, King Sorrow, where a dragon incarnates into the modern world, and it's big. But that just came out too from Stephen King's son. It looks pretty interesting.
I like Joe Hill's work. I read I was reading what was the name of that? Key House Hill? Lock and Key. I think that was the name of it. He's got some great stuff, and I believe The Black Phone was adapted from one of his books. I'd like to read it, but that's got a sequel out now, and
that's Lock and Key. I didn't know that about Black Phone. I saw the first one, but I didn't know that he had a connection to that.
I'm pretty sure that might have been written by Joe Hill. I could be wrong. Correct me if I am wrong.
I'll look it up. I might have heard something like that. Yep. I just learned how Joe Hill pitched the Black Phone too. He's involved with it. I don't know that there's a lot of articles about it.
Huh. But yeah, over the summer, I to pass time at one of my summer jobs, I was listening to a lot of audiobooks, and one was On Writing by Stephen King. So they had like an epilogue at the end where Stephen King and Joe Hill were talking in a room full of people, and it was really kind of fun listening to that father-son dynamic that they have.
Yeah, there's some good Batman books. I haven't read them yet, but I have the first one, Batman Resurrection, and he just released Batman Revolution, and it officially takes place in the Tim Burton universe. And it's called who's the guy? John Jackson Miller. Batman Resurrection. It's the aftermath of the Joker's death from Batman and Batman Returns, and then he just put out Batman Revolution. That's about the Riddler, and it all takes place in the Tim Burton verse. And they're books. They're big. The newest one's like 500 pages.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like book books or comic books?
Real books, like books.
Oh.
Books.
I guess I'm a little out of touch with that. I know. So I'm a comic book guy, and a couple of years back they released like the official sequel to Superman 78 and the official sequel to Batman 89.
Yeah,
so
I like those. Yeah, they look up Batman Resurrection and then you'll find it. But they're novels, and they did really well. But it all takes place in the Tim Burton verse. So I wish it's my secret fantasy for a Batman 3 from Tim Burton. If only. I don't think it's going to happen, but you never know.
Yeah,
that'd be a good one for sure. But definitely, we never had trick-or-treaters ever. But last year, for some reason, they were all over the damn place. Everywhere. Like,
unprepared.
They came out of a portal or what, but they were all over the place. I was like freaked out because it was just I had never seen them here ever.
That's the good side of the opposite. You see, every year we get a big old cauldron full of candy that we're ready to give out on Halloween night, and we get like 10 trick-or-treaters all night. That's the sad thing. I feel like it can't even be our neighborhood, because I feel like when I was a kid, there was just, for lack of a better expression, like hordes, gangs of just kids roaming the street for candy. But nowadays, I feel like that's kind of cut back because a lot of parents are doing trunk or treat instead.
Yeah, yeah.
Show up to one parking lot instead of chase your kids around the neighborhood. But
Yeah. Around here, they used to change the day from Halloween to trick or treat, like religiously, to try to, I guess, take pressure off the day for the devil or something. I don't think they do it anymore, but it's pretty weird. It's like they're trying to take the pressure off. But I'm not sure what I'm doing for Halloween. I don't really want to go anywhere lately. Things are just so crazy. It just seems like we're about to just Mad Max up in this son of a bitch, and a nuke's about to drop. That's what it feels like with Trump and everything. It just seems crazy as hell. It's like I don't even know if I want to leave my house. I'll just go to the woods and walk around. But it definitely just seems scary, really scary. And I have to keep up with a lot of news for my work from the right wing side, and it just seems like all crap's about to break loose every second.
well, I'm kind of on the side of the spectrum where essentially I stay away from all news regarding politics because when it comes to the news itself, I tend to find it's mostly a lot of fear mongering. So I don't like to get caught up in that. I like to look at the positive sides of life. I like to look at Halloween. I mean, yeah, I don't want the government pulling the wool over my eyes, but I also don't want a lot of talking heads, telling me I need to be terrified about everything.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. The big thing with him, it does seem like he's definitely just going up full authoritarian, like something crazy. Like just he definitely I like Bernie a lot, and that was mostly for insurance reasons because I know what it's like to go through chemo and you don't know how you're going to pay for it. My dad, one of his bosses at his job, told him that they should just let me die because chemo costs too much. And my dad, before he died, was going to go there and kill them all and had a heart attack and had guns and knives in his car like Braveheart. And so I have stake in the insurance thing. So that's why I like Bernie a lot. But right now with all this, I definitely don't want to get into it. But I know Wham's going through a lot of stuff with them cutting the SNAP and a lot of the elderly and stuff, these people that are dependent from the shutdown. Like right now, food banks have lines of traffic, like just all over the place because the shutdown and they don't have, getting their food or whatever. And it's just scary. Like it really is. We're really on the verge of something scary, and it's scary. It really is. But that's why we need to escape into fictional realms. but eventually we're going to have to, hopefully not come out into our yards and have machine gun Rambo fights.
Yeah.
I don't think I have it in me. I think if that happens, I think just go ahead and shoot me. Just get it over with. It'd probably be better off at that point. But yeah. Oh, I had something weird happen today, and I want to tell Wham and everybody. I had went to sleep. I put flea medicine on dogs because there's been a crazy flea stuff going on here that's just creepy. Like in our dog, everything we use on these things, it's not affecting them. And it is, but it's not. But eventually I put, powder on all the dogs and it made me feel kind of crappy. But this morning I was laying in the bed and we were sleeping, and I swear plain as day, I heard, it was morning time. I heard something go, Jeffrey. And no one was here to do it. Person next to me was asleep. Christina was asleep. Jeffrey. And it was like audio, but a weird, like in my head too. And I've had paranormal stuff, but that creeped me out. And I don't know. Maybe it was my dad. He's passed. I mean, I don't know what it was, but it was definitely, it didn't come from anybody awake and near me. It was definitely weird. It's like, Jeffrey. It was just like that. And it just, you could feel it in your head and hear it at the same time, almost like it was telepathic and audio at the same time. And it was the weirdest thing ever. It's like, Jeffrey.
That is spooky. I've had that happen myself where you just like lost in a random thought. And then all of a sudden in your head, it feels like somebody screams your name and you can hear the voice distinctly. You know who it is. Nobody audibly said it, but like all of a sudden something in your brain, somebody like reached out and got your attention. You're like, where'd that come from?
Yeah, I think it was something spiritual, like maybe someone passed. I don't know. I don't know. We've been watching a lot of weird stuff about skinwalkers, so hopefully it wasn't a skinwalker. I want your skin, Jeffrey.
That's that's something they should do with that's something Hollywood should do something with. You know, there's just a lot of really good creepypasta kind of stories that really are unnerving, you know, and they should really delve into that. Skinwalkers is a prime candidate.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about that, it sounds batshit nuts to even imagine that someone can do that, but I mean, there's something to it. And I've interviewed J.C. Johnson, who passed away not too long ago. He had been on some of the reservations and stuff, and I mean, he told me how they thought that you could become one, and something about killing someone you love. Like there was a whole thing to it. And actually, we listened to something recently, something about you have to kill someone you love and wear their skin, and then somehow you can do other animals after that and wear theirs and become it. Like just listening to it, you're like, yeah, right. But there's really something to it that's weird as hell. That's the scary part about it. But there is some kind of truth to it. There's been some episodes on unsolved mysteries, and there's a Navajo paranormal real book by a dude that was in the paranormal, the Navajo police paranormal unit, John Dover and the other guy, and they actually made like a weird real X-Files unit for the Navajo reservations, and they'd have to deal with all these cases, and that would come up a lot, the Skinwalker thing, and it was a real thing that they had to deal with. So definitely creepy for sure. What's the movie? I know you're going to dress up as a Wendigo, but Ravenous, you ever seen that one? That's a crazy one with the West. It's like old, and it has Robert something in it. It's called Ravenous. It's like a Western. I don't know if it's Civil War times, but they go crazy and eat each other.
I'll have to look it up. That sounds interesting.
It's a Weird West, I would think. Ravenous. There's another one that we saw recently. It's a Weird West. The Burrowers. That was pretty good. With had what's the guy from Highlander? It's always in the Stephen King movies. The dude with the white hair. Clancy Brown is in it. Yeah, that was a good one. I love Weird West. God, I love that. That's a good genre that I love to get into. That's kind of hard to find, but it's out there if you really dig. There's a lot of good Weird West. Bone Tomahawk. That was a good one.
That was a really freaking good movie.
Yeah, that was good. We've had Joe R. Lansdale on. He's kind of like, I don't know if he's the father of Weird West, but he's damn close to it. He's definitely has a lot of Weird West books. But Wham, are you still doing your Halloween festival up there and stuff?
Well, there's every village here pretty much has their own thing. This year I'm going to the one in New Paltz because they shut down part of the village and in the main drag, and then there's this big parade, and it goes on for several blocks, and you know it's partly for kids, you know, so that they can sort of invade the businesses on the main road and get trick or treat that way, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I live in Mid-Hudson Valley. You know, this is the home of Ichabod Crane and Rip Van Winkle. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Halloween is a big deal here. It's a big deal. Like every I mean, there are villages where the entire village decorates, you know, and they compete with each other. So, yeah, it's. I actually don't have to do anything. I can just sort of pick where I want to go, you know, and hang out with people that are doing things. On the 1st, you know, because it's Halloween's on a Friday night. On the 1st, which is the Saturday, I'm going to a party that evening, a Day of the Dead party, which is not the same as Halloween, but you know, it's
cool.
Same time of year. So
I got to actually ask. So you're probably closer to Salem and Sleepy Hollow, or I'm not sure how close they are.
Well, Salem is in Massachusetts, and Sleepy Hollow. Well, there isn't one location for Sleepy Hollow. There's the story was by Washington Irving, was based on 2 different locations that he merged in his story. The characters, the Ichabod Crane himself, you know, and sort of some of the ambiance of the story came from a town which is about maybe 40 miles north of me called Kinderhook. But then some of the other aspects of the story took place in a location that is now called Terrytown. That they actually have like an inn there that's called the Sleepy Hollow Inn and everything. And that place, that's a suburb of New York City, so it's quite a bit south. It's about 2 hours south of where I live. So Washington Irving, when he wrote that story, he took liberties with both places and sort of combined them, because Terrytown at the time was not a suburb of New York City. It was a rural area at the time when he wrote the story. So what he did was he, creatively merged these two locations. So there isn't one Sleepy Hollow as such. If you were to go to Terrytown now but then go to Kinderhook would seem more like the place. Because like there are parts of the village that date from the late 18th century, the 1700s. And they've retained some of the old buildings and stuff. So it has much more of the ambiance that you might be looking for with something like that. But yeah, I mean, that's also, their Rumpelstiltskin, or Rip Van Winkle, not Rumpelstiltskin, but Rip Van Winkle, that story is based in part of the Catskills. So, there's a town called Hudson, and it's sort of across the river from the town of Catskill, which of course is in part of the Catskill Mountains. But Rip Van Winkle, the kind of, I guess you would say, the ambiance of that story, the landscape of that story is based very much in the Catskill area itself. There's the Catterskill Falls is what it's called, and he actually mentions Catterskill Falls, and the landscape that he talks about is based right in that area. So,
Sounds like a great place to visit, especially if you're into Washington Irving's work.
Oh yeah. I mean, he kind of put the whole area on the map, so to speak.
Is there a good time of year to visit those places without, I guess, getting bogged down by tourists?
Well, yeah, I mean, the dead of winter is always, but then of course, I mean, it's a different kind of scenery. We have, actually spring isn't too bad in terms of tourists. There are two main tourist seasons. One is sort of the height of the summer, and the other is, which up here runs between Memorial Day and Labor Day, pretty classically. And then beginning in October, like we're right in the middle of it now, there's we call it the peeper season, and that's when the people come to see the leaves, to see the kind of classic New England fall foliage, which is pretty much it's just coming to its fullness right at the moment. So
same up here. We're definitely reaching our peak color this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have the best color this year because it got kind of dry during the summer. We had a little bit of a drought. It wasn't as bad as last year, but we did have a little bit of a drought. So it's not as colorful as it might be, but it's still all right,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like a beautiful area over there. In writing my book, I've been inspired by, like I say, everything, even those old 1700s era scary stories native to America. One of the characters I named Katrina, but it was in honor of, I think it's Katrina Van Tassel from the Sleepy Hollow story. So I try to pay tribute and homage wherever I can, because horror kind of transcends decades. It is something that our culture has instilled in it. We've told ghost stories from the times we were living in caves, and now we have cinema.
What else did Washington Irving do? Is there? I mean, that's his only. I mean, surely he's got more than one book, but that's I know the most famous.
He wrote a lot. He was a journalist and a writer, and I mean those are the two things that he's most known for. But he also wrote histories. So he wrote histories of the region. I mean, all I have to do is Google him and look to see all the things that he wrote. I mean, he wrote he wrote a lot of things. It's just that he's well known for those two stories around here. But I mean, the thing that is really distinguished him and what makes him historically important is that at a pivotal time in history when things were changing here a lot, he went up and down the Hudson River, for example, right as industry was beginning to move into the area. And there was the shift that was happening from rural areas to urban areas. And he preserved a lot of the old stories. He preserved, and he liked to, listen to not only the stories of, the old Dutch. By that time, the old Dutch settlers were considered, like old, you know what I mean? Because they were some of the original settlers. And and there were still, like Kinderhook was a place which was a traditional Dutch settlement. So, he could find old timers and get their stories about dreams and ghosts. And in fact, one of his best stories is, and I talk about it in my book, Mysterious Beauty, is a story that he told about a place that is now, it's now completely incorporated into Jersey City, which is, just on the other side of the East River, or it's the Hudson River, from the city, from New York City. I mean, you can't really tell that it's a separate neighborhood now. But at the time when he was writing, which was the early 19th century, this was still an old Dutch settlement. And they retained a lot of stories about how they had taken this land from the indigenous people, and some of the, and they had a lot of ghost stories that were associated with that, as well as stories about escaped slaves, enslaved people who had escaped, because we don't think of New York as having been a slave state, but it was at one time, and the ghost stories that are associated with that. So he actually collected a bunch of stories just around about that area. And that's just, it's like incorporated into one of his books. He's also known for his diaries. He kept diaries and journals of his travels through these areas. So he wrote a lot of stuff, and a lot of it is available online free. So
Cool.
you can just check him out.
I'll check it out for sure. I always love the Headless Horseman, that's for sure.
He's in my book.
They're doing a Return to Sleepy Hollow series from IDW and comic books right now that's based on the Tim Burton. It's called Return to Sleepy Hollow. I haven't read it yet, but I've seen it. I don't know if the Johnny Depp character, I think he's in it, but it looks pretty good so far for sure. Just so many good things. And tell everybody one more time how to, we got about 15 minutes. Tell everybody how to get Pumpkin Guts, where they can come to Facebook, and let everybody know. So in case you want to get some copies, I highly recommend it.
Again, I'm still learning my way into the kind of business end of things. It had a very successful Kickstarter campaign. We raised nearly 12 grand to print and manufacture the books. I still have a good amount on hand. If you are interested at this point, I ask you to reach out to me on Facebook, Jacoby Matott. Right now, my pictures, me and my girlfriend with Christine Carr, the back, or the fins on the rear end. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling. Or you can reach out to me on Instagram at Jacoby Matott, spelled the way you see in the bottom corner here. I don't have my middle initial in that, but reach out to me, message me. We'll talk, and I can we'll do Venmo, and I can absolutely ship the book to you. If you're into horror movies in the Halloween season, I absolutely insist give it a look. Hardcover copies are currently priced at $60 because of the cost of printing and shipping, and this isn't just a single trade paperback that would only be between 50 and 70 pages. This is a 300-page book. It's as a frame of reference, this book is as thick as the first Harry Potter book, only instead of words, it is all pictures.
Really
It
good.
took about 10 to 13 years to complete. Yeah. I do have some soft covers available, and those are priced at $40. But yeah, reach out if you're interested. I'd absolutely love to share this story with you. It is my magnum opus. I'm very proud of it. I often said during the making of the book that I can't die until I finish this book. So at this point, I'm happy. I could die happy. I don't want to die happy because I want to die happy. But I would love to tell more stories in this world, and I can really only do that if you're interested in
You
it.
should. I think you did a great job. And you put Pumpkin Guts into Facebook, Pumpkin Guts, you'll find him. It's there. Also, apparently, there's a weird band called Pumpkin Guts. I don't think they're huge like Iron Maiden or anything, but I found some weird band called Pumpkin Guts, and there you are everywhere. And then there's some weird band called Pumpkin Guts. I've never heard of them, but yeah, you can find them definitely by doing just Pumpkin Guts in Facebook.
Yeah.
But you're listening to United Public Radio 107.7 FM New Orleans. And there's no show next week. I ain't doing a show on Halloween. And then we come back with Richard a Step. That's ghost stuff. And there was a few things I wanted to plug from Kickstarter before we depart. And I'll just try to do it quickly. I like to help people out on there. Tomorrow this ends. It's called Roy Beckwith and the Cursed Continent. It's a Weird West comic that looks really good. And it ends tomorrow. Roy Beckwith and the Cursed Continent. And you can go to Kickstarter. And you can either get the first issue or you can do an 8-issue subscription. Another one, Dino Knights, the Techno Tribe. It's about these dinosaurs that somehow are Knights of the Round Table with Merlin. And it's kind of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's really good, called Dino Knights, like Knights, Knights of the Round Table, the Techno Tribe. Here's something that's really good. Dracula by Kelly Jones is on book 3, The Count, and it's a comic. And basically, I think Dark Horse is putting it out, but basically it's awesome Dracula. And John Carpenter even has a blurb on there recommending it. But right now they're on book 3, Dracula book 3, The Count, and you can get all 3 books there. But it's like probably the best Dracula thing going around right now, and it looks amazing. And then Goats Flying Press, they're doing a 2nd anniversary indie comic showcase. What are those? Let me get those the name of those books real quick. The Consumption and The Dead and the Damned. And The Dead and the Damned's kind of like a fantasy, like looks like crazy skeletons fighting and lich wizards and all kinds of craziness. Okay, and Steve Jackson Games Choose Cthulhu solo adventure game books where you can kind of like Dungeons and Dragons or choose your own adventure, but you can do it by yourself and somehow you can play with another person, just make the decisions together. But they did a whole line of H.P. Lovecraft books called Choose Cthulhu. And then Sync, Halloween Special #1. Sync is a very interesting comic with a lot of clowns and weird stories, like an anthology. Mobster Mash, that's another one that's like gangster era Universal monsters, except they're like they're gangsters, like I don't know what year it is, maybe the 20s or something like that. Drawn in Blood Shipwreck, that's an anthology with some Nosferatu in it and short stories. Halloween House, this dude may be coming on. A Clockwork Night comic, that's a good one. Halloween House, A Clockwork Night. Another Weird West, Man of Many Shadows. Let's see what else. Memoirs of the Morbid. That's kind of like Creep Show, Tales from the Crypt. Drive-In Kings of 1977. It's kind of like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I think the last episode gets into weird alien stuff. The White Wolf. Another guy that's been on our show, he's got one, Evelyn the Unconquered, a Bride of Frankenstein, Frankenstein one-shot. There's another Frankenstein, Sword of the War Monster. It's like a Conan Frankenstein. That's going on. So many crazy things. And then Ernie Altbacker has Area 51 Studios issue 2. You want to check that out? Clay Adams from Fry Comics, Blood of the Grunch, #1 just got up. And then last but not least, Bo Hampton's Three Devils, which is a Weird West. He has a great Viking comic. I forget the name of it. That's really good, but he's got some amazing art. And he did a whole series of like a Weird West with werewolves and natives. And it's really good. It's called Three Devils. So a lot of awesome Kickstarter. What did you learn about Kickstarter? It's a trip. I've been eyeballing it, man. I've seen some really good ones get aced off there. And the economy's kind of crappy, so it's affecting everything. But did it get worrisome for you? It's a pain in the butt. It's nerve-wracking too, isn't it?
It was a little tricky in spots trying to figure out how to navigate it. But overall, once I dug deeper, I kind of figured it out. I first heard about it several years back. One of my professors at the university, one of my illustration professors that taught me, launched a book he did on there. And I kind of had him mentor me a little bit. I asked kind of his process and how he got his book out there. And that's how I discovered it. And, it is kind of neat because you can reach a lot of people and it does help get your book out there.
What was your goal? Did you have a logo? I know some people do a logo, and then if you go over, you still get everything. But did you do like a logo, or did you have a high goal? How close did you come to it?
Like the minimum goal, I think, in order to because Kickstarter is an all or nothing platform. You either nobody's card gets charged, or you meet your goal, then everyone's card gets charged. I was asking a pretty steep price of $10,000, but that was to print these books. The cost of printing them is pretty. I mean, this is a denser book. I probably would have done well to break it up into smaller parts, but I'm not as business savvy. So I would rather, as a reader, when I go to the comic shop, I'm not a single issues kind of person. I know a lot of people are, but I'm the kind of guy that buys the compendium. Everything is bound together because I like a good hardcover solid book in my library. And I don't want to keep people waiting on a cliffhanger for, my first story out in the world. I want them to, see the whole book and take it for what it's worth. And if they like it, yeah, I'd love for them to come back, and I'll have that sequel ready someday.
Didn't you have some companies biting for it a little bit or something that nothing came up of it? A few companies?
Well, right now I'm self-publishing through my own imprint. But I have been looking at trying to get into some of the major printing publishing companies. And it's a bit of a challenge to kind of be heard as a voice in an ocean of people. So yeah. I'm kind of venturing out into the convention circuit and trying to do a little bit of networking. And hopefully I can talk to somebody in person and show them what I have. But a lot of the major publishers are looking for somebody that have an established track record, somebody that they've worked with before. Like, oh yeah, I'll publish Sam. Sam's worked for our friend that put this book out, and he's reputable. So, that's kind of my impression of how a lot of the major publishers work. But I'm still doing a lot of research. I would like this book to take off, grow some legs or wings, and really go places. I believe firmly that this is a good, solid story, and I think it's got potential. I know it's got potential. I just need it to be seen by the right people.
It's good and it's unique, and that's one of the big problems with comics. It's oversaturated with too much stuff to where you almost have a stroke trying to be a collector with this stuff. But I think yours is unique enough to stand out, and it deserves a lot more attention for sure. And I hope it gets it for sure. It's great.
Well, greatly appreciated, Jeff. Thank you.
And can't go wrong. Pumpkin guts and a pumpkin head dude. Can't go wrong with that. Bigfoot. You're even representing Bigfoot in there.
Everything. If you like slashers, if you like Bigfoot, if you like witches, if you like ghosts, skeletons, you name it, it'll be
What
in
was that first one you said? I think you said flashers.
slashers.
Okay.
Yeah, slashers.
Okay.
Oh, I got to give a big hand to my colorist. Without him, this book wouldn't pop as much as it does. When I was talking to my colorist, Andrew, I told him this book needs to stand out. I want this book to bleed Halloween. And if you look at a lot of horror stories out there, they're often very monochromatic, very dark, almost black and white. But Halloween to me has been so much more than darkness. Halloween is vibrant. You've got those rich oranges, purples, and greens, and black. I mean, the primary colors of Halloween would be black and orange, but purple and green as a secondary it's significant. This is as vibrant as you remember Halloween being as a kid.
It's great, and it needs to be like a Halloween tree where people do it every year. Maybe someday it'll be a animation or something weird. You never know. But
I'd love it to. I'd originally started out as I was always a film nerd as a kid. So when I first wrote this story, it started out as a slasher, and it was supposed to be an indie film. But once I decided that, being a kid with limited resources wasn't going to make that happen, I have always been an artist. So I needed to get this story out of my head on the page. So I was able to both write it and illustrate it the way I had it seen in my head. But once I realized that I was drawing this, there's no budget on what you can draw. With Hollywood, it's like, oh, we got to hide the monster in the darkness for more because we don't have the budget to make him look good. But on the page, your imagination is the only limitation. So the story got more fantastical. It became more of a horror adventure versus just a stock slasher.
Yeah, it's great. And it was great to have you as our main Halloween show. And last year we had a guy named Dara Mason that basically wrote this book about the devil and Irish folklore, and Whitley Strieber interviewed him, and basically he was saying it's okay to commune with the devil for your spiritual practice. That was a weird damn show, but good. Then we had another girl on that made paintings of demons that were real demons from whatever, and she claims she communicated with them. But this year, pumpkin guts, baby. And pumpkin guts, you'll die fictionally, not real. So that's good too. But yeah, we appreciate it, and thanks so much. And everybody, you're listening to United Public Radio 107.7 FM New Orleans. And everybody have a good happy Halloween. We'll see you back in November, the first Friday. And Richard a Step with Ghost. And thanks, Wham. And my heart goes out. I know you're helping those people up there. They're getting all this crazy trumplegooch pain from the food cuts and stuff. And I've seen the lines of people in different states. It's really scary. So prayers, and my heart goes out to that. My God, it's just terrifying. But I mean, people down the highway who are not going to have food. And then, of course, a lot of people, may start resorting to getting food in criminal ways that could hurt people. So it's just not a good situation. And then a lot of elderly people rely on this stuff, and they just shut it down. And, there was some weird thing written by some Democrat dude that was really creepy and long that I think I sent it to you. But basically, I'm not saying this is true, but he was basically alluding to they may not reopen it back up. It's really just, we're in a weird state that's really freaking weird right now on multiple levels. I'm still trying to figure out why Numbnuts is trying to attack Venezuela. It's like, what the hell are you doing? You're going to attack Venezuela? It's like the dude's down there saying he has millions of people ready to attack us. The dude that runs Venezuela. There's some weird shit going on with it. That's all I know. But everybody, thanks for listening. Check out churchofmabusradio.com. It goes to our Facebook group. I've had job cuts and a job that's acting weird as hell with my money. So I have a GoFundMe there that helps feed the rescue animals here and helps pay the internet bill. So you can go to churchofmabusradio.com, drop in the group, and see that GoFundMe if you want to help out. It's crazy times, and hopefully the Mad Max nuke isn't going to hit. We're going to become Fallout, the game, and real life. It seems possible. But everybody have a good weekend. Happy Halloween. Good night, everybody. Thanks, Wham. Thanks, man. And we appreciate it. Keep us in the loop on future projects.
Will do. Thank you.